Someone had once rightly said, there is only one race, and that is the human race. Greetings to one and all. Today I, Mrinalini, a grade 11 student of Amity International School, Sector 46, Gurugram, will be speaking on one of the most important and relevant issues of recent times, and that is human rights. If we go by the definition given in the Oxford Power Dictionary of 1993, human rights is the basic freedom that all people should have. In other words, it can be said that human rights are every human being's entitlement by virtue of being human. If we understand the topic of human rights, we will get to know their characteristics. These include, firstly, both human rights and human beings are inalienable, inseparable, and one cannot exist without the other. Secondly, human rights are comprehensive. They include socio-economic, civil, political, and cultural rights that are universally applicable to one and all. Every human being is inherited with these rights, no matter what caste, creed, gender, or economic status that they may belong to. Human rights are said to be as old as human civilization itself, but they developed as a concept only in recent years. It has gathered more importance after the conclusion of the Second World War, and particularly after the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. They were further strengthened with the emergence of the Magna Carta, the Bill of Rights, and many agreements that followed. For example, the Geneva Convention on Human Rights consists of the rights of humans under the conditions of war and peace. The signatories of this convention have to strictly adhere to the universal principle of human rights, irrespective of individual attributes. Moreover, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or UDHR, is a document that acts like a global roadmap for freedom and for equality. It protects the rights of every individual everywhere. Moreover, it was the first time that countries had agreed on the freedoms and the rights that deserve universal protection in order for every individual to live their lives freely, equally, and in dignity. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This beautiful quote is applicable to human rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights has guaranteed two broad categories of rights. These include civil and political rights, which include numerous rights like the right to life, liberty, freedom of thought and expression, freedom of religion, and freedom of speech, the right to vote, and many others. The second category is the socio-economic and cultural rights. This includes the right to preserve and propagate one's culture, the right to food, health, and adequate standard of living, etc. These national and international documents and conventions have had a very important and key role in spreading awareness and implementing human rights on the ground. Here, I would like to quote an extract from the document agreed upon in the Vienna Conference. I quote, "All human beings are universal, indivisible, interdependent, and interrelated. The international community must treat human rights globally in a fair and equal manner on the same footing and with the same emphasis." Unquote. Now, when we talk about human rights in the global context, it is also important to draw a comparison with our country, India. From the ancient days, India has been committed to the ideals and doctrine of human rights. In conformity with the UDHR, India has its own National Human Rights Commission, or NHRC, India, which has done a commendable job of preventing human rights violations and protecting human rights. It has effectively dealt with the violation of human rights caused by the activities of terrorism and insurgency in numerous states of India. But the one question that still remained unanswered was that how do we, as citizens, protect human rights from violation? And the question answered itself. Since the 1980s, there has evolved a novel type of mechanism for the protection of human rights of the disadvantaged groups of people. This is popularly known as the public interest litigation, or PIL, or moreover, it is also known as the social action or social interest litigation. In India, the Supreme Court has not only recognized but also entertained such litigations. It has enabled even normal citizens like myself to fight for the protection and enforcement of human rights of the disadvantaged people who have no access to move to the court on their own. Now, here it is important that when we talk about human rights, we talk about them in the context of the Sustainable Development Goals as well. The Sustainable Development Goals are better known as SDGs, and these are a collection of 17 global goals designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and a more sustainable future for all. 3 of these goals go hand in hand with the topic of human rights, namely SDG number 16, peace, justice, and institutions. It is said that peace can only last where human rights are respected, where the people are fed, and where individuals and nations are free. SDG number 5 also relates to the topic of human rights, namely gender equality. The widespread consensus is that progress on all of the SDGs will be stalled if gender equality and women's rights are not prioritized. The third SDG that resonates with the topic is SDG number 4, quality education. It aims to eliminate gender disparities in education and ensure equal access to all levels of education. And this relates very well with the topic of human rights. In fact, if we look at it, all the SDG goals, including no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, etc., are nothing but human rights. Many of us would agree that none of the SDGs can be truly achieved unless the provision of basic human rights is made in every single corner of the world. In conclusion, I would like to say that it is time that we get together to pledge to spread awareness on this subject and stand with those whose human rights are being violated. Because if not you, then who? If not now, then when? The time is right and the time is now. Thank you.